But we start right here in New York City, where a lunch break just began after a pretty wild morning at Trump's trial. It's the former president accused of a crime. But today's proceedings have been focused squarely on his former fixer, Michael Cohen, his credibility, his likability, and the lengths he went to protect his boss as Election Day 2016 approached. Cohen hasn't even taken the stand, but his name has already come up more than 1,000 times at this trial so far. I want to bring in NBC's Yasmin Vasugian, who's outside the courthouse. Paul Butler is a former federal prosecutor, Georgetown law professor, and an MSNBC legal analyst. Jim Messina served as White House deputy chief of staff under President Obama and led his 2012 re-election campaign. And Danny Savalos joins me here in studio. He's a criminal defense attorney and an MSNBC legal analyst. There is so much to get to, Danny. It's been Keith Davidson on the stand, right? But the focus keeps coming back again and again and again to Michael Cohen 1,000 times. He's been name-checked in this trial. A lot of what we heard hasn't been flattering, but is that actually part of the state's strategy here?
Here's the thing. Cooperating witnesses or people like Michael Cohen, who is cooperating witness-esque, they always have problems. And in fact, in the grand scheme of things, witnesses like Michael Cohen and Keith Davidson really aren't even all that bad in the spectrum of cooperating witnesses. These are often people who are hardened criminals who may be brought into court in shackles and in prison gear. You don't have that with Michael Cohen or Keith Davidson. But the people know that these are problematic witnesses because they seem seedy. Michael Cohen seems impulsive, rude, and possibly even somebody who makes bad decisions all on his own. The people know this, so they're getting out in front of it. They're doing the right thing, what you should always do with cooperators, what I'm sure Paul Butler did many times, is you get in front of the problem, you bring it out in your direct examination that these people are problematic. The people know that Davidson's going to say these bad things about Cohen. They know because they're asking the questions about Cohen, and it's good for the people to get this out in the open instead of letting the defense expose it and the people look like they've been hiding this the whole time.
All right, Paul, the defense has spent the last hour or so trying to discredit Keith Davidson, of course, the lawyer for the two women at the heart of this, and they want to show that he cannot tie the Stormy Daniels payoff back to Donald Trump directly. Do you think that they have been successful in undermining that testimony?
Somewhat. So the cross-examination so far has emphasized that it's Donald Trump who's on trial, and Keith Davidson never had any personal contact with Donald Trump. One of the first questions Davidson was asked on cross was whether he had ever seen Donald Trump in person before this trial. And Davidson said this was the first time. So he's testified that he believes Michael Cohen was acting on behalf of Trump, but the defense is going to suggest that there's reasonable doubt.
Yasmin, tell me what you can then about how both sides have tried to use Davidson's testimony to make their case.
It was, Chris, I have to say, a really fascinating morning, to say the least. When we talk about the direct from the prosecution with Davidson, they talked about really the timeline. They talked about the pseudonyms that were used, right? The loyalty for Michael Cohen, his fervent kind of commitment to making sure this deal went through, his loyalty to Donald Trump in communications with Davidson and making sure the payoff went through. But